Hey Terrosphere, it's Holly here from Cape Cod Creatures, and it has been a hot minute since I've been on any kind of live stream or YouTube or craziness. We've got tons and tons of updates, tons and tons of news, tons and tons of changes, super fun. So, as you all might notice, this space looks a little different. That is because we are streaming now from the office of my new esoteric boutique. So, yay! We sold the dog boutique, and by we, I mean the royal we. Hi everyone, how are you? So the dog boutique is gone. Cupcakes is sold, ending a chapter in my life, and yeah, so one door opens, one door closes, another opens, right? So crazy, the universe was just like, you're not done with retail. And right away, a space became available, the same landlords that I had for the dog shop, for this beautiful esoteric boutique. I point around, the office doesn't look very beautiful right now. We had 10 years of dog shop stuff that we had to quick and dirty move over here real fast, and then set up. But anywho, the retail floor is set up. It's beautiful. Someday I'll do a tour. So the retail floor is set up. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. We've got tarot, bones, plants, dried herbs, all the witchy stuff you could imagine. Cauldrons, wands. Ooh, so exciting. Books, you name it, we've got it. We've got a wonderful studio space where we'll, of course, be teaching classes. Our tarot class starts in the fall. I'm real excited to nerd out about that one. We do all these awesome crystal bowl meditations and stuff, and full moon meditations. If my voice is a little hoarse, it's because I did the full moon meditation the other day, and I'm still recovering. Hello, everyone in the chat. It's been a minute. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put on all chat because, yes, there we go. Now I can see everybody. Sorry. It's been a minute since I've streamed. I don't even know what people are using or doing or whatever these days for their streaming platforms. So I guess we're going old school with this. But yeah, so we've shifted gears. We've been open for 2 months. It's so exciting. Guys, it's so much better. If I had known owning a business was this stress-free, I'd have made this switch years ago. All right, so today's talk, though, is a serious one, and it is a message to all independent deck creators. As an independent retailer, as a small business myself, somebody who's been in it for 10 years, I was in a different niche before this one. Those who haven't been following, I owned an independent one-location dog boutique and grooming salon for 10 years. Took it through COVID successfully and successfully sold it a few months ago. Took the money, opened this beautiful location. I love small business. I cannot say it enough. I am a free market capitalist at heart. I love retail. I love just buying and selling and introducing new products to people and nerding out about niches and you name it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. The thing I love best about it is I am in a unique position as an independent retailer to boost independent creators. I feel as an independent business owner in my community, I've got a responsibility to support non-corporate entities, right? Because I myself am not that corporate is bad. Corporate's actually illegal. We can do a business 101 thing about like what makes something corporate, but corporate in the eyes of the world would be like evil Jeff Bezos dick rocket, which I secretly loved, by the way. What a time to be alive. And I mean, like, I don't think, like, did he wave at the Tesla in space? Was that a thing that happened? I can't even, it's so good. But anyway, we're going to wax poetic about that on a different day. It is, it is my responsibility, my duty, and my pleasure to help bring independently created products, one of a kind things, support artisans, and support other people that love to do what they love to do, to bring that to the marketplace, to normalize it, to take product availability and like, this is what we have and whatnot, out of the hands of entities like Walmart and Target and just those big corporate businesses that don't pay well, that don't have a good ethos, and to take products from people that love what they're doing and to bring them to the outside world, right? And now more than ever in this business, dog industry, a little harder to do that with, but with tarot, with esoteric stuff, the niche is small enough where I can do that and do that well. But if you are a deck creator and you want to see your deck on a shelf in a store, there are certain things that need to happen in order for us to do that. And I have been reaching out since before I opened, since I knew that this was like a twinkling and inkling in an eye. I've been reaching out to independent deck creators because I want to carry them. I knew going into this, my whole deck collection. Yeah, black market decks are awful, and that is an issue. But getting decks into shops, into neighborhood shops, is part of. So Charlotte brought up, she brought up in the chat, she said the biggest concern right now are black market decks. So those are decks where the artwork has been stolen from independent creators and put on platforms like wish.com and eBay and Etsy and other places where your artwork can get stolen. The problem with bootleg product is price, right? So it's not cheap to take to make like a small amount of something and bring it to market. But the other part of that is accessibility. And part of what we're going to talk about today is how to make your independently created deck accessible to shops like mine, which service entire neighborhoods. I am one of 3 shops in a 50-mile radius that has the ability to carry your independently created deck, right? So you can either go through platforms like Amazon, Etsy, whatnot. You can self-market your deck, that's fine. But in product deserts, so what we have with the esoteric market, tarot and whatnot, it's called a product desert. It means that people can't walk into a store and buy that particular product. There's far more pressing product deserts out in the world today, like food deserts. And just necessity deserts. But product desert it's an industry term, and as a shop owner, you do well to enter yourself into a niche where there's a desert, and then you become, yay, I can do this, right? So anywho, the way to make your deck more accessible is to get it into shops like mine. But we're looking for certain things, because running a shop, Amethyst, I sold the dog shop. So I opened an esoteric boutique. This is Ritual. It's amazing. We sell stuff for witches and tarot readers and healers and all that good stuff. So anywho, sorry, I love doing I'm just so excited to have opened this. You don't even know. Like, I am containing all the excitement. But so independent retailers are looking for certain things when we're buying product, right? So number one is shelf appeal and product quality. So it's got to look good on our shelves, right? Independent stores, when you walk into an independently owned store and there's only one of it, you want uniqueness. You want a certain aesthetic to be met. Like, there's expectations from customers that your shop looks a certain way, feels a certain way, just the atmosphere, right? So as creators of independent decks, you guys already know this. You got it. You're artists at heart. That is down for you guys. Product quality is another factor for us. So this will tie in a little bit to pricing. quality for the price, right? So is your product unique? Does your product have a good quality? And does the price tie into both of those factors? As independent deck creators, your deck is very unique. It's one of a kind. There's not a lot of it on the market. You have the ability, and everybody here who collects decks is going to like send me punches. I know they're going to be like, shh. You have the ability to price your deck at a higher price because it is unique. Like there are certain goals that you should be meeting for pricing, which we'll discuss in a second, to help us all kind of work together. So we're looking for stuff that we're trying to carry stuff that nobody else can. I love Llewellyn. I love Hay House. I love the bigger publisher like Liminal is available through a larger publisher. There's stuff available through Penguin, through a whole bunch of the other larger publishing houses that I can get wholesale. Those are mass market decks, and we do carry a fair amount. But I love independently created decks. Always have, always will. I'm an independent store. I'd love to support. I like it. Nothing makes my heart sing more than when an independently created deck makes it to mass market. Part of that is to show that you've got market appeal and you can survive in the market. So anywho, because I specialize in a particular niche, it means that I can absolutely justify charging more for an independently created product, and we can justify, a lot of other stuff. But anywho, I'm rambling now. So the uniqueness of your product, though, and the appeal of your product, and the as much as I would love to carry it, none of it matters if I cannot get a good margin. What is margin, you ask? Margin is the percent of it is the cost of the deck versus how much I can sell the deck for. So if I buy something for $5 and I can sell it for $10, I have made a 50% margin. It is important here to differentiate the difference, or to point out the difference, to emphasize the difference between margin and profit. Those are two entirely different things. Profit is what you have left over after all of your overhead costs are taken into account. Profit is not margin. Margin is just what you can get, like what percentage you can get from after the cost of product for selling that product. So costs of running a shop, right? Because this is one of the problems that I've been running into when asking independent deck creators about whether or not they'll sell their deck wholesale and whatnot. They seem to conflate margin and profit all the time. They're concerned about they're concerned about the profit that I'm making versus the profit that they're making, when it should really be more about margin. So ideally, I strive for a 50% margin. For anything to justify its space on my shelf, I need to be getting double what I paid, which is, it's a big retail secret, but there it is. I'm able to get those discounts because I can buy in volume. I'm willing to invest in X amount of units and shell out like a few $1,000s in order to put those products on my shelf. Which is why we get volume pricing, because we are able to buy larger chunks of these products, right? So my profit, however, is not 50%. This space costs me money. Any independent retail store that you see has a ton of hidden costs. Number one would be rent, obvious, right? Electricity to keep the lights on. We have built into our leases, most leases, we have this thing called common area maintenance if you're in a plaza. So if you have neighbors, if you're not an independently standing building and you're in a plaza with neighbors like a strip mall, Common area maintenance is the cost to maintain the parking lot, the outdoor lights, snow plowing, street sweeping, landscaping, everything that makes that plaza inviting to come to is split out amongst the owners of the businesses in that plaza. So that's common area maintenance. Oftentimes there's also on top of that a condo fee. And then we also pay what's called triple net. So triple net lease is when it's basically all the horribleness that comes with owning a business and none of the equity in the property. So it's not like a standard, like I'm renting a house kind of a lease. We're responsible for property taxes, any and all repairs to the structure. We're responsible for the water bill. We're responsible for everything, right? So oftentimes square footage is at a premium. We've got to make the most of it, which is why we require a 50% margin on most products, because at the end of the day, we've got to pay for that. We also have to pay for things like marketing, employees, credit card transactions. When was the last time you paid cash for something? So credit card transactions are usually anywhere from 2 to 5% off the top of a sale. It can be higher for anything you sell online, as I'm sure most deck creators know through their online stores, right? So profit, like in margin, if you're concerning yourself with, because people are like, oh my God, if I sell you my deck at this discount, you make a higher profit than I do. And it's like, well, yes and no. I'm buying in volume. So as a wholesaler, you should be concerned with moving units and moving as many units as you can, as fast as you can, right? Because that's the whole point. People like the people making your favorite potato chips that sell in Home Goods for $1 versus at your independent grocer for $5. Like the people who are making those chips are concerned about their margin when they're selling hundreds of thousands of units to Home Goods, as opposed to the 10 units that the independent retailer is going to buy. It's called volume pricing and volume buying. But anyway, so we're looking for 50%. What you can do as an independent creator to assure, like if you're concerned about margin, and what you should be doing anyway, really, if you're looking at manufacturing a product to bring to market, and you're looking at also having a wholesale program, ideally, you should be thinking in terms of 75-50, which means that whatever it costs you per unit times 4 is your retail price. That is the price that you're putting your product out there on the market for. It's on your website for that. It's on store shelves for that. That's the price to the end customer. It should be your cost times 4. So that way, if you sell an item for retail, you get a 75% margin, which is huge, because that'll take care of a lot of your overhead costs. It'll take care of a lot of your overseas shipping. It more than takes care of your online transactional fees, fees for product prototype, all that stuff eventually becomes small potatoes in the eye of a 75% margin. And as independent deck creators, let's face it, you're getting a lot of your sales, especially when your deck first comes to market, it's not from independent retailers. It's going to be from your end customer. So 75% margin is really where you should strive to be aiming for production cost. And then you can then afford to give retailers their 50% discount, their 50% their margin, right? Because you're still getting twice what the product is. So you're literally making the same margin that we're making, but you're actually making a higher profit, which sounds weird, but yeah. So the margin is that then becomes equitable for manufacturers and retailers. Another thing that I would say to take into account when you're working with independent retailers is volume. Because there have been some decks that are like, yes, I will give you your 50% discount, but you need to buy 100 of my decks. Bro, I have 800 square feet. So my shop is high end. I can definitely charge. I you have nowhere to put your 100x. Like my office is the size of a tin can. My retail floor is small and I have to carry a variety of products. I have at least 100 different titles on the shelf right now. I do not have 100 of the same ass deck because variety is the spice of life. So you should be thinking in terms, the old industry that I come from, everything is sold by the half dozen because a lot of it was baked goods for dogs. So I'm used to thinking in terms of sixes, but and a lot of case packs for some reason will come in like either 5s and 10s, or they'll come in 6s and 12s. It just depends on how many you can fit in a case. It is not out of line to ask for a 50% margin for to be like, okay, yeah, I'll give you 50% margin, but it's however many decks I can fit into this USPS large mailer. Like that's, flat rate large mailer, which is fine. I'm happy to shell out dollars for anywhere from 10 to 20 of the same deck. I'm not buying 100 of your deck. It's not happening. Like I've got other expenses, other products. Yeah. So that is an issue that I've seen with some of the smaller independent creators. Some of them have tiered discounts, which do work. One that I've considered has been Spirit de la Lune. They've got a wonderful tiered discount program, which I wish was a little more generous towards independent retailers, but it's such a unique deck. I'm not worried about being able to sell it. So that's a case of fast nickels versus slow dimes for me, which should be everybody's mantra if you're in wholesaling and in retailing. Product turnover is really key for both of us, right? You don't want to have piles of decks sitting in your house. I don't want to have piles of decks sitting on my shelf, not selling. So you should be worried about more. You should be more worried about moving product than you should be worried about not getting your profit. Not that profit's bad, but like that's why we're all in it. We're all in it to get that bread. But yeah, you should be more worried about moving your product. It's so important. In retail, the first thing you learn is move your damn product. I cannot nail that lesson home hard enough. I've learned it so hard so many times. If a product's not moving, you're not making money. Your dollars are tied up in products that are literally just sitting around doing nothing, collecting dust. That is not an investment. That is a folly. So anyway, yeah. Another thing I'd like to point out is if you're interested in wholesale for your deck, yes, masculine intuition readings. I am back with a vengeance. Yeah, and Charlotte, yes, you're right. Standard margin for most non-grocery retail. The margin for grocery is actually even worse. For most grocery, it's 20%, which is really horrible. I don't know how grocery stores make any money. No idea. 20% margin, disgusting. It's probably because we all have to eat, right? Dang. If only we could live off of nihilism and coffee alone, but we can't. We just can't. So getting your product seen if you want to do wholesale, right? That's really important. So one platform as an independent retailer that I love, especially for exposure to new products, independent makers, and it's really a sign to me that a brand has its shit together, is being on the FAIR platform. It's called FAIRE, and it's like Etsy, but for wholesale. It's just a wonderful platform. They specialize in taking small, independently created product and putting it into independent retailers. They have tons of awesome business coaching resources. I am super excited because there is a They have their summer market, which is a trade show, which is another thing you should be looking into if you're an independent deck creator and you want to see your deck on the shelves of stores. You should be going to trade shows. But yeah, so Fair has a summer market, which it's discounts, it's wholesale, it's discounts stacked on top of discounts. Fair matches a lot of them. Some of the smaller independent brands that are most successful on the platform take advantage of that. They make tons of money. They're in independent shops all over the place. I guarantee you've seen them in your shops. So there is Seawitch Botanicals. They do incense and perfumes and cosmetics and soaps and candles. They started as a small little shop and now they're huge. Synesthesia Tarot is on there. I will be purchasing their deck for my shop through Fair during that trade show. There's another one that's on there. It's not Heart and Hands. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna pull up my app and I'm gonna tell you who's on there. There's tons and tons and tons. But a lot of independent esoteric stores are taking advantage of this platform. So this is, oh my goodness, the interwebs. This is Fair. It's an app on my phone. I can buy whatever I want from wherever I want. You're also sharing some space with some smaller distributors, like Red Feather is on there. But for tarot, we will be purchasing Synesthesia, definitely. We'll also be purchasing from Hollow Valley. We're going to be purchasing from another brand I love, Open Sea. They don't do tarot, but they do journals and stationery and just really awesome notebooks and pads and pens and stuff. Another deck brand that we'll be buying from there is where did you go? Sorry. We purchased from a whole bunch of different like esoteric altar tool creators there. Many Queens tarot deck is on there. So there's a ton. You're in good company with independent tarot creators, and there's a few more, but I've got like thousands of products in that cart ready to go. Fair. I'm actually going to type it down here. If you're in England, London, the UK, my European peeps, because I know that some of you guys are overseas. There are a few platforms that do the same thing, but for the UK and Europe. So you just have to look for like the second you start searching for them, they're going to start. They aggressively market in people's social media timelines. So once you start looking for them, they'll show up for you. I promise. So thirsty. Another platform that I super love is called Abound or Hello Abound. They've got tons of esoterics on there, tons and tons and tons. You should get your product on these platforms because it'll do one of two things. It'll show that you've kind of got your stuff together, right? Because you have to maintain a certain level of customer service and a certain level of product and shipping and whatnot know-how to be on there. It'll give you resources for coaching. It'll give you peer resources. If you're not taking advantage of industry peer resources, you need to. So industry peer resources would be like the Fair Makers. There's a Fair Makers group. There's an Abound Makers group. There's a Fair Makers Facebook. So these are on Facebook, by the way. There's a Fair Retailers group. There's an Abound Retailers group. Another group that you need to be on if you're looking to bring a product to market and you're looking to bring it to market with independent retailers. It's so important. I'm going to type it here. It's called WhizBang. It is independent retail coaching. They have a free Facebook group. Free. Just join it. So it's a free retail Facebook group. They give lots of awesome retail coaching for free. They do have paid programs, but the amount of knowledge that they give you for free, is crazy. And if you're looking to bring your product to shops to sell, you have a bevy of independent retailers right there. You can ask what we look for. Like that's like we'll tell you. We're like it's tons and tons of industry. You need to like it's good to be on the deck creator websites and whatnot to be like, okay, well, who am I going to print with, and how do I do a successful Kickstarter? That stuff's great to know, but in the long run, if you want to bring your product to market, you should be talking to the people who at the end of the day are going to sell it, right? So that is one way to get your product exposure. Another way to expose your product to the broader market would be to hit up trade shows. So trade shows are where I would go to find product to buy in person, because we can have those now because COVID's almost over. Hopefully. Dear God, is it over? Oh God. I really hope it's over soon. But Provincetown, you guys are partying too hard up there, man. Governor's like looking at Cape Cod being all, shut it down. Not really, not yet, but maybe. Who knows? It's a mystery. So trade shows, you need to be attending those as a vendor because you can. I know it always seems like it's very expensive to shell out the money for a table at a trade expo, but it is 100% worth it. It's also worth it to attend the expo and just give people your cards until the staff tells you no. But because it's where we're all looking to buy stuff like in volume, mostly with cash. Like we're cash customers at trade shows. Sometimes we're looking for terms, but I go there with a credit card and some dollars, and I'm like, I'm just gonna make it rain. So I say that very cavalierly, but spending that kind of money always gives me a little mini heart attack. But anywho, big trade shows you should be looking at would be the Atlanta Gift Show. That is where you're going to find a broad market of shops to go in, not just esoterics, but like gift shops where somebody also loves to sage things. Sometimes they'll carry little selections of decks. INATS, INATS. It's the International Natural something, but it's for natural living, for your esoteric shops, your new age people, your new age crowd, tarot readers, healers, shops like mine. We're going there to buy things. It was virtual this year. It was so easy to be a vendor at INATS this year. It wasn't even like, and it was free for me to attend. I definitely dropped some dollars there. New England Natural Living Expo. I'm going to drop that one because it's local to me and I would love to see you there. And I'd love to give you my dollars. So that's in Massachusetts. I'm going to attend it. I'm going to find some really awesome deck creators, hopefully some local artists, some local artisans that do altar tools and jewelry and all that good stuff. I'm going to be dropping my money there. But I'm also going to be looking for 50% margin and a trade show discount. If you cannot afford to give a trade show discount at a trade show, what are you even doing with your wholesale life? So anywho, that is kind of a quick little primer for stuff that we're looking for if you want your product in an independent shop. Rant over. Yeah. So anywho, what have you guys been up to? Looking for feedback on this. So some of the trade shows, yes. So Charlotte, unfortunately, some of those trade shows, industry trade shows. So Charlotte asked, can you tell us some of the, can I tell you some of the trade shows, because she'd love to go to some as a tourist and not as a buyer. It is for people with a wholesale, like with a retailer's license. You have to be a retailer for a lot of these. I'm allowed to invite a guest. If you want to go to one, you can usually pay a ticket price if you're going to. A lot of it's for industry a lot of it's for industry. It's how to a lot of the talks, some of them are fun, but a lot of it's for how to integrate like different healing modalities into your retail space or studio. um, a lot of the some of the buying pavilions you have to have a reseller's license in order to get into, um, just like the correct paperwork filled out. It's not that I don't want you to go, but it's not really for the general public, which is kind of a bummer sometimes. But also, as a retailer, I like yes, fair.com. Forever We're After. Yes, I do have a store on the Cape. Forever We're After. Are you on the Cape? Are you local? Do we know each other? That would be awesome if we did. But yeah, so as a retailer, I kind of like that it's not just like willy-nilly general public coming to this trade show, because when I'm there, it's like, yeah, it's fun. I love what I do. Do what you love and you don't work a day in your life. And it's definitely a mix up from the everyday. But at the end of the day, I am there to conduct business. And that is hard to do when people are tourists at trade shows. There's a few trade shows that I've been to that are open to the general public. And honestly, it's always a shit show. And at this point, I just like it's different industry. But I wouldn't attend. Like, I went once, I wouldn't go again if I was back in that industry, because it was so hard to navigate and get what I needed. So sometimes the vendors will have swag bags for retailers. Like, you make a purchase at the booth and you get the swag bag. It's like a product sampling, so you can kind of test out the product and be like, well, is this something that I want on my shelf? Is it good enough for it's basically like, is this good enough for my customers, or is your product crappy? Like, so we kind of get to test it out. But the one that was open to the public, all that stuff was gone an hour into the show. Like, it was just, the reasons for me to go just weren't there. I heard a beep. I might have to go soon because the store is open today. It's just really ringing and slow. So yeah. I kind of like that they're not open to the public when, oh, I do have to go. All right, you guys. I will be back soon, I promise. But thank you so much for joining me. Hi, I'll be right down. Okay, thank you. All right, I have customers. So super exciting. I will see you guys all later. Thank you so much for listening to my crazy rant. And yeah, Forever We're After. If you are visiting, I am kind of across the street from Peterson's Market on 6A. So I would love to meet you. Stop on in, introduce yourself. The shop's name is Ritual, and I will catch you later, Tarosphere. Have a good one. Oh, buttons. Okay.